Lead Republican on the Senate Environment and Energy Committee, Senator David Brown, joins me now to talk about his perspective on where Minnesota stands with energy production. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Senator, let's begin with what you think the message is regarding the fact that Minnesota is actually on track to exceed the national standards when it comes to reducing carbon emissions and increasing renewable energy production. What does it mean to Minnesotans?
Well, it means a few different things. Potentially, the long road could mean higher energy prices for us when we get our monthly bills, but we are on track to reach the renewable standards. I hated to see us propose increasing those standards pretty significantly over that 5-year period from 2025 to 2030 because we are on track, and I think we need to focus on that. It's only been in effect since, I think, 2007. So I think we need to focus on what we've set in place already before we steadily increase those standards. Over the last 2 decades across the nation, carbon emissions have been at their lowest level since 2 decades ago. So I think those are good things. I think a lot of what's being proposed maybe is going overboard, and it's going to drastically increase the cost of energy.
And President Obama wants to increase natural gas production and move away from coal. This is being dubbed by many as a war on coal. Where do you think coal fits on this energy landscape?
I think coal is still going to be our most cost-effective option, and I think we should use it as an option. I live in Becker, where Minnesota's largest coal, Sherco, largest coal energy-producing plant is, and people decry the amount of pollution they say is taking place. I don't agree with that. Yes, there is some, but they have very stringent standards on the mercury being released and the emissions being released from Sherco, as do most coal-producing plants. And I still think it's our most cost-effective option. There
are some environmental concerns that are rising about water quality issues if there's drilling through shale to get to natural gas. And as I said, the move is to go more towards natural gas as opposed to coal. So is it possible, in your opinion, to preserve the environment while tapping into this resource, if indeed this is the direction the nation and the state go?
Well, my concern with natural gas is that very thing of fracking. We're seeing the price fall significantly because of the abundance of supply with fracking. But there are many, especially in the environmentalist group, who want to put an end to fracking. If that were to happen and we convert these coal plants to natural gas, we most definitely will see our electric bills rise because the cost of natural gas would explode if we put an end to fracking. I don't know what direction fracking is going to go in the state.
So, Senator, there is a move at the state level for sure, and definitely the national level, to move to renewable energy and away from fossil fuels. Do you think this is viable at all?
Well, what I found interesting, you'd mentioned President Obama's speech. When he was in Africa, he was promoting the use of fossil fuels in Africa. They have newfound oil and gas reserves in Africa, and he was speaking very positively of that. But yet here in America, it's like he wants us to move away from those sources. Those really are, fossil fuels are our main source of electric energy if we want reliable 24-hour, 7 days a week energy. Now, if we want to move more towards renewable, are we willing to give up our 24/7 use of electricity? Are we willing to have intermittent electric energy delivery to us? I don't think we are.
Well, and Senator Marty aspires to Minnesota becoming the first state in the nation to be 100% fossil fuel free. Why not move in this direction if renewables, if there are all of these other resources and sources that can be tapped into?
There are sources that can be tapped into, and we are tapping into them, but solar and wind are not yet base load producers of energy. They're very intermittent. They are being used. Xcel's using wind very well. But they're not yet base load capable of providing energy 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's why we need coal. That's why we need nuclear.
You talked a little bit earlier about solar, and the state did take significant steps to increase solar production and manufacturing in the state of Minnesota. How challenging do you think it's going to be to try to implement a lot of what was passed last session?
I guess we have yet to see. I think it's going to be very challenging. It's being subsidized. Solar may someday be a very effective source of energy production for us. Right now it's not. It's not at that place yet. And I think we're trying to force it. and they think by forcing it will force us to get there. I just think it's several years away yet.
So if you could craft an energy plan that you think would work for Minnesota, what would it look like?
Our main sources would be what they are now, coal and nuclear. And I would lift the moratoriums on those. I would stop putting excise tax on the coal that comes into the state, so it would be even cheaper than what it is now. I have a hard time. This whole argument is based around the idea that carbon emissions is causing man-made climate change. I disagree with that. Yes, we're seeing our climate change. I disagree that it's man-made, and I disagree that carbon emissions is the cause of it. As I said a little bit ago, carbon emissions are at the lowest level in 2 decades. So if that's the case, we can't attribute the flood in Duluth that some have to man-made climate change. We can't attribute the flooding in southern Minnesota. There's no scientific evidence that that's the cause of these events, but yet it very quickly gets thrown out as the cause.
And the committee is continuing to have hearings throughout the interim, as many committee meetings do occur here at the Capitol. So what do you expect to hear, and what are some of the policies that you intend to have a hand in as we get closer to next session?
Well, if I have a hand in something, it will be less government restriction. Like I said, I still believe coal and nuclear are our best options. I believe the Legislative Energy Commission is going to, well, the whole idea of why they wanted to hire an executive director is get us to comply with this thinking that we need more renewable, we need to meet these standards quicker, we need to be the first state in the nation with 100% renewables. I disagree with that, but that's the direction this commission is going to go.
Okay, Senator Brown, thank you so much for joining us today. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.